Faces weren't on the magazine covers anymore. We could go to the grocery store and it was kind of more like a normal life. Then we got word that something new had came out. It was so unreal, like we still have trouble comprehending it today. This person we thought we knew, this person that we love greatly, this person that we knew is no longer the same person. So we just stopped and prayed and asked God.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just finished a video on sister wives, and literally after I uploaded the video, shared it to my socials, got all that stuff done, I literally just pop over and check a website to see if there's anything I missed, if there's a new clip that's come out, and I see this article, and it's about Ginger's book, and it's Jim Bob and Michelle, and they are literally losing their cool. They are panicking. And I saw the headline, and I just wanted to like put my hand in my palm, and then I thought, this is just absolutely a tactic to try to make Ginger feel, it's like it's like they're sending a message to Ginger through this article instead of actually contacting her, which is so passive aggressive. I can't even stand it. And then I was like, this is so Jim Bob. And then I was like, oh my gosh, the narrative. It's I have these reactions when I see this stuff. The article title says, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar are bracing themselves for Ginger's tell-all book. They fear the worst. Oh, geez. The worst isn't what Ginger has to say. Well, it might be because she might tell things, but she said it's not a tell-all. She said it wasn't a tell-all. But the worst already came. It was in the conviction of Josh Duggar. But if there's more secrets to uncover, what is it that you're afraid of her telling? Why are you putting this out in the press? Why not just call her and ask her what's in the book? Are you not on speaking terms with her? The fact that you don't know about this book and you don't know what's in this book tells me that your communication with Ginger is at a point where there's not much happening. But let's dive into this article that came out, and I must have sent this link to maybe 5 people and said I can't. Let's get there. And before we do, can you do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up? If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, and please click on the notifications bell so you can get notified. And also leave some comments if you have something to say. I want to thank everyone that has recently subscribed to the channel. This channel would not be as good and as amazing without all of you here with me every single day. So listen, the article is on the heels of an enormous announcement that came from Ginger. And then there has been a ton of conversations now in the media about Ginger's book, what we can expect, what this means, questions about shunning. People are starting to pay attention into like who's liking and who's commenting and who's saying what. And everyone noticed that the Duggars were suspiciously not commenting, not saying anything other than the ones that have already been shunned and are not in Jim Bob's control. They always say that narcissists have a hard time with the truth, and the biggest threat to a narcissist is the truth, right? Jim Bob is not only a follower of Bill Gothard, but he is also this semi-quasi leader of his own group of people in Northwest Arkansas, of all of these families that have literally moved to be near him. It is so creepy. And he has these followers completely bamboozled. His complete and utter image is dependent on his curated false narrative that he has put out into the public for years. And the reason why he so tightly has controlled the kids, in my opinion, is because he wants no one to know the truth. He is on a mission to make money and to be famous and to have all the people adore him. He doesn't want anyone to know any of the secrets. That means you're going to control them by enrolling yourself in this really ridiculously controlling patriarchal group, the IBLP, which only serves to benefit him. And now a daughter that he's neglected, one of the 4 daughters that he and his wife neglected, is finally coming out to share her truth. And he's making it all about himself, and he is sending a message, and it's gross. Okay, I did not take a breath there, but here's what it says. They are bracing themselves for her book. And it's not a tell-all. It says Jim Bob and Michelle aren't thrilled by her book coming out, but they're hoping for the best. They're not sure of all the topics she'll cover, but they have prayed about it and hope it's honest, respectful, and doesn't dredge up too much of their family troubles. You know, it's funny that they would say that they hope that it's honest, coming from a man that sat on a trial bench, or he sat next to a judge, and he was answering questions about his daughters, and he couldn't recall the darkest times of their lives. He couldn't remember the things that he said about Josh. He couldn't recall going to the police station. He couldn't recall the things that he said to them. He couldn't recall anything. He couldn't recall anything that happened to his daughter because it was so many years ago, because Josh was a child. He couldn't remember anything. When his daughters were suing the sheriff and the county attorney because of the release of records, Jim Bob dodged process servers and refused to sit for depositions. And he went out of his way, and he went on trips to not have to be served. Is that an honest man? Does an honest man not tell his friends about what his kids has done and exposes other children to him? Does an honest man, let's see, what else did he do? He has lied to his sister about what his nephew has done, and her daughter went out on counting on. Is that what honesty is? No. Does an honest man blame Joe Biden or Donald Trump for his son getting arrested, or a liberal conspiracy? No. Does an honest man defend his son but not his daughters? No. So he has no place to talk about honesty. But again, this is like a fear tactic that I believe they're using, and this is a message they're sending to her when they could just call her. Listen, they could just call her. The book is not supposed to be a tell-all, but she does promise that she's going to talk about her spiritual journey. She called out Bill Gothard. She talked about the umbrella of authority, that she talked about in her video that she grew up in a tight-knit conservative circle. She talks about how it's important that people examine their beliefs, right? And this is what they say is the worst fear. Literally, not they're fearing the worst of this, not what happened with Josh. This is literally worse. They fear the worst for what Jinger will discuss in the book, especially stories about their faith, raising their large family, and especially the dark Josh incident. Still referring to what Josh did as an incident and not CSA. Still referring to it as just a dark time in their life, as though it was just this moment in time that has not left an imprint on the hearts and the minds of their daughters. And then it says, the last thing they want is to bring more unwanted negative attention and scrutiny to their family. Well, of course, that's the last thing they want. The last thing they want is to have more bad press because they have a curated process, and they probably want to get back on television. And anything that Jinger puts out is going to impede their brand even further. Jinger wants to have an honest conversation about what it was like to grow up under an umbrella of authority and having to live in the modesty culture and deal with purity rings and dealing with courtship. I mean, what's wrong with that? You know, he wants to go out and he wants to go out and spread the mission to everyone and talk about his faith publicly, but Jinger can't. Why can't Jinger talk about her faith? She's now almost 30 years old. She has a right to speak, right? So the source went on to say, it's no secret that Jim Bob would rather all their children keep family matters private. A tell-all book from one of their own isn't something they ever worried about until now. Now that's just flat out not true, because Jill and Derek have literally been talking about a tell-all for years. But it's really rich that they would say that they want to keep their family matters private. A family that literally put their whole lives out to the media from the time of 2003 until 2021, when their show was canceled, want to keep their family matters private. Well, I guess for a while, what they told us about their family were all lies. And the family matters we never saw. So it's really rich that now that they've lost a platform and Ginger's been emboldened to write this book, this makes me want to write the book and support the book even more because it makes them so fearful. I want to encourage everyone in my audience to buy this book and just show some love to Ginger, because no child, regardless of her faith with Jeremy, the church she belongs to now, regardless of all of that, she deserves unconditional love and support from the audience that grew up watching her and have watched her grow into an adulthood. Even if we don't stand by her beliefs, the fact that her parents are doing this publicly and not saying anything to her privately, in my opinion, support this book. It's more reason. The fact that her parents are so afraid of what's in this book is another reason why you need to buy the book, okay? So they're afraid of her making private family matters public. Wait, isn't this the family that got on Megyn Kelly and told everyone about what Josh did and lied about it and reduced it to a teenager that was, just a little too curious? Isn't this the same family that had their births shown on national television, that had weddings shown, that had, they talked about miscarriages and disputes in the family? That was not private, but now they want to keep it private because it serves them and they can't get the book deal. I don't know. This is what they said. They feel that Ginger and Jeremy have changed, and the book is bound to touch on some controversial family issues. Another concern is that Ginger will most likely promote the book and do interviews, and Jim Bob and Michelle worry about the questions she'll be asked and how she'll answer. It's definitely a tense time. Jim Bob has used a guy named Chad. He worked for Mike Huckabee, who was the former governor of Arkansas. His daughter is now the governor-elect, Sarah. And Chad was the PR team that he had that helped them through their crises. And he put everything into a script. Their whole life is scripted. Everything they put out on social media is a script. It's not unreasonable to consider that, when they're putting out stuff, that it's scripted. And even today, they might not have the same connections because they've lost the ties to TLC and their asset income is down, but they still have learned a lot through that process. And he has tightly controlled the narrative. And so he's worried about her going on to shows and doing interviews and speaking about her life, her lived experience. The best way to handle this would be to talk to her privately about it, but it also makes me think about all those times that you watch Jim Bob and Michelle in an interview and you see him clenching his jaw and he's watching Michelle talk, and it's almost like he's got his hand on her arm, and he's like going to squeeze her if she says the wrong thing. That's what it makes me feel like. Like he has been controlling the mouths of these people for such a long time that now he's afraid. Now he's afraid that she's going to say something that might paint him badly. As if it's not bad enough that he admitted to neglecting the needs of his daughters, to not getting them the therapy that they needed, to supporting his son. This is what scares him. It wasn't that, he's still paying for his son's defense, which makes him look horrible. But in his mind, he thinks he's doing the right thing, his delusional mind, might I add, because he somehow believes that all of these efforts are going to help him win back his family name. And this has put some sort of nail in the coffin. I don't get it. The passive aggressive last line here is that even though they don't agree with all their life choices, they still love Ginger and Jeremy. Jim Bob and Michelle are bracing themselves and just praying that while Ginger was writing the book, she stayed true to their family's core values. You mean the core values of secrecy, making wise appeals, not going under the umbrella of authority, blind obedience, obey your parents no matter what, there are no victims. You mean the core values that are taught in the IBLP, that it's always the woman's fault for the man having thoughts that are being defrauded, or that a woman doesn't get to have a say if her husband's doing something bad. I mean, that's the core values of this family, is that dad is at the top and everyone else is at the bottom. So no. Even if she says one thing about her life that's true and he doesn't like it, that's it. And this tells me they're already on bad terms with her because they are running to the press about this instead of dealing with it privately and being, maybe just sucking it up. Like, Jim Bob and Michelle are the couple that will allow everyone else to do their dirty work. They have all their kids defending them publicly, but they won't say a word because they're cowards. And now they're doing this because they're cowards. And that's my opinion, which again is why, even if you don't like Jeremy, Ginger needs so much support. So please send her tons of love, because this to me is gross. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.